Everyone knows who you are now.
The text message that destroyed my marriage arrived at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, lighting up my phone like a neon sign in a nightmare. Can't wait to feel you inside me again tomorrow night. Emily's working late, so we have all evening. Melissa. Wrong number? I wish. The message was meant for my wife Emily's phone, sitting right there on the nightstand next to mine. Same case, same model. Easy mistake for her sister-in-law to make when she's texting about screwing my wife. My name is Kyle Masters, and I'm a 39-year-old IT manager living in Plano, Texas, where the lawns are green, the secrets are dirty, and apparently my wife of 12 years has been having an affair with my brother's wife. Because why settle for ordinary betrayal when you can go full Jerry Springer? I stared at that message for a solid 10 minutes, my brain doing mental gymnastics trying to make it mean something else. Maybe Melissa was talking about a massage therapist named Emily. Maybe she was discussing a really intimate book club. Maybe I was having the world's most specific nightmare. But no, the pieces clicked together like a jigsaw puzzle made of broken glass. Emily's late nights at the real estate office. Melissa's sudden interest in our family gatherings. The way they'd disappear together during barbecues, claiming they were catching up. The hushed phone calls that stopped the moment I walked into a room. Emily stirred beside me, her blonde hair spread across the pillow like she was posing for a magazine cover. Even in sleep, she looked perfect. Real estate agent perfect. Country club perfect. Cheating lesbian perfect, apparently. You're up early? She mumbled, not opening her eyes. Couldn't sleep, I said, which was about to become the understatement of the century. She rolled over and I studied her face in the dim light filtering through our bedroom curtains. This was the woman I'd met at a coffee shop in Deep Ellum 13 years ago. The woman who'd laughed at my terrible jokes and said yes when I proposed on the observation deck of Reunion Tower. The woman who'd given me 2 beautiful daughters and promised to love me until death do us part. Turns out death wasn't necessary. Orientation confusion would do just fine. Emily's phone buzzed again. Another text from Melissa. Sorry, sent that to the wrong phone. Delete it if you see it. Too late, Melissa. Way too late. I slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floors we'd installed last spring. Everything in our house screamed success. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, a wine fridge that cost more than my first car. We were living the American dream, complete with a white picket fence and a golden retriever named Murphy. But dreams have a funny way of turning into nightmares when you're not paying attention. I made coffee with hands that barely shook, which I considered a personal victory. My mind was already working, processing this information like the IT professional I am. Data analysis, problem identification, solution development. The problem, my wife was cheating on me with my sister-in-law. The complication, my brother Danny had no idea. The bigger complication, our entire social circle was about to implode. Danny and I had been best friends since childhood. We'd been each other's best men. Our kids called each other's parents aunt and uncle, and we spent every major holiday together. Melissa had joined our family 5 years ago when she married Danny, a sweet girl from Oklahoma who sold insurance and made the world's best peach cobbler. Or so I'd thought. Turns out she made other things too. Emily appeared in the kitchen at 6:30, already dressed for work in a navy blazer and pencil skirt that probably cost more than most people's rent. She looked like she'd stepped out of a real estate brochure, which made sense since she basically lived in them. You're up early, she said, kissing my cheek with lips that had apparently been busy elsewhere. Big day at work, I lied smoothly. Johnson wants the server migration completed by Friday. She poured herself coffee from the pot I'd made, adding the exact amount of cream and sugar she'd used for 12 years. Some things never change, even when everything else does. I'll be late tonight, she said, not meeting my eyes. Big listing presentation? Of course you will, I said. She looked at me sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that you've been working a lot of late nights lately. Emily's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. If I hadn't been looking for it, I would have missed it entirely. But I was looking now. I was looking at everything differently. This is a competitive business, Kyle. You know that. I do know that, I agreed. I also know that most real estate presentations don't happen after 10 p.m. Some clients prefer evening meetings. They work during the day, too. The lie came so easily, so smoothly, that I almost admired it. She'd had practice. Our daughters, Sophie and Jenna, thundered down the stairs like a herd of caffeinated elephants, breaking the tension, 10 and 8 years old, respectively. They were the best thing Emily and I had ever created together. Sophie had Emily's blonde hair and my stubborn streak, while Jenna had inherited my dark hair and Emily's charm. "Dad, can you drive us to school today?" Sophie asked, already dressed in her uniform from St. Mark's Preparatory. "Mom always listens to boring grown-up music." "Hey!" Emily protested, but she was smiling. With the girls, her smile was always genuine. Whatever else was happening, she loved our daughters. "I can't today, sweetheart. I have an early meeting, but this weekend we'll listen to whatever music you want." "Even Taylor Swift?" "Even Taylor Swift." Sophie grinned like she'd won the lottery. Emily gathered her purse and briefcase, kissing both girls goodbye. When she kissed me, I wondered if I tasted like betrayal or if that was just my imagination. "Love you," she said, the words automatic after 12 years. "Love you too," I replied, and meant it. That was the heck of it. I still loved her, even knowing what I knew. After they left, I sat in my kitchen surrounded by the remnants of our morning routine. Coffee cups in the sink, crumbs on the counter from the girls' toast, Murphy sleeping in his bed by the back door. Normal domestic life, except nothing was normal anymore. I pulled out my phone and stared at Melissa's misdirected text message. The evidence of my wife's affair delivered directly to my phone like some kind of cosmic joke. In IT, we call this user error. In real life, I call it the universe having a sick sense of humor. The smart thing would be to confront Emily immediately, lay the cards on the table, demand explanations, figure out how to move forward. But I'd learned something in my 20 years of troubleshooting computer problems. You don't fix anything by attacking the symptom. You have to understand the entire system first. So I forwarded Melissa's text to my personal email, then deleted it from my phone. If Emily asked, I'd never seen it. But I'd keep the evidence because in my experience, people who lie about one thing usually lie about everything. I had no idea how right I was about that. The thing about being married to someone for 12 years is that you learn their patterns. Emily always showered for exactly 15 minutes, used the same password for everything, Sophie's birthday plus our anniversary year, and left her laptop open on the kitchen counter when she was rushing to get ready. I'd never snooped before. In 12 years of marriage, I'd respected her privacy completely, but that was before I learned she was having an affair with my sister-in-law. Amazing how betrayal can reshape your moral boundaries. Her email was open, and I had maybe 10 minutes before she finished getting ready. My hands hovered over the keyboard. This was it, the point of no return. Once I started looking, I couldn't unknow whatever I found. I started looking. The affair had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of deleted text messages, coded emails, and elaborate lies. They'd been meeting at a hotel on Central Expressway, the kind of place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. Classy. But it wasn't just the affair that made my stomach drop into my shoes. It was the money. Emily had been spending thousands of dollars on this relationship. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Austin that she'd told me were girls' weekends with her college friends. She'd opened a credit card I didn't know about, maxed it out, and was making minimum payments from our joint savings account. Our daughter's college fund was $20,000 lighter than it should have been. That's when anger started mixing with the hurt. Cheating on me was one thing. Stealing from our children's future was something else entirely. I heard the shower turn off upstairs and quickly closed the laptop. When Emily came down 5 minutes later, I was reading the news on my phone like nothing had happened. "I forgot to mention," she said, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. "Melissa and I are having lunch today. Girl talk, you know how it is." "I'm sure you are," I said. She looked at me in the mirror. "You're being weird this morning. Just tired. Didn't sleep well." "Maybe you should see a doctor about that. Sleep is important." The concern in her voice sounded genuine, which made everything worse. How do you reconcile someone who worries about your sleep schedule with someone who's been systematically lying to you for 8 months? After she left, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. I had research to do. I started with our bank records. Emily was smart, but she wasn't IT professional smart. She'd been careful to delete emails and text messages, but she hadn't thought about digital footprints, credit card statements, ATM withdrawals, GPS data from her phone that was still linked to our family account. The picture that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. The affair wasn't just physical. They were planning a life together. Emily had been looking at apartments, researching divorce lawyers and checking out schools in Oklahoma near Melissa's family. They were going to leave Danny and me, take our kids, and start fresh in Tulsa, over my dead body. I spent the morning building a case file like I was preparing for court. Screenshots, printed emails, bank records, phone logs, everything organized in folders with dates and timestamps. If this was going to be a war, I wanted superior intel. Around noon, my phone rang. Danny. "Hey, brother," he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "Want to grab lunch? I'm downtown for a client meeting." Danny was a commercial contractor, built half the office buildings in North Dallas. Good guy, hard worker, completely clueless that his wife was screwing his brother's wife. "Sure," I said. "Meet you at Pecan Lodge in 20. We'd been going to Pecan Lodge for barbecue since it opened. It was our place where we talked about work and kids and complained about our wives in the harmless way married men do. Today was going to be different. I found Danny at our usual table, already working on a plate of brisket. He looked happy, relaxed. The man had no idea his world was about to end. "How's Melissa?" I asked, sitting down with my own plate. "Great, really great, actually. She's been in such a good mood lately. I think she's finally settling into Dallas life, making friends, getting involved in stuff. Yeah, I bet she is." Danny looked at me funny. "You okay? You sound off." This was my moment. I could tell him everything right now. Show him the evidence, blow up both our marriages simultaneously, let the chips fall where they may. Instead, I said, "Just work stress. You know how it is." "I do, but don't let it eat you up, man. Life's too short." Life's too short. If only he knew. We talked about safe topics, his latest construction project, my server migration, the Cowboys' chances this season, normal brother stuff. But I kept thinking about Melissa's text message, about Emily's secret credit card, about the apartment listings in Tulsa. "Emily and Melissa have been spending a lot of time together lately," I said casually. "Yeah, Melissa mentioned that. She's really happy to have a sister-in-law she clicks with. Her family's all back in Oklahoma, so Emily's been like the sister she never had." Sister, right. "They're having lunch today, actually." "I know. Melissa was excited about it this morning, said they were going to that new place in Bishop Arts District." They weren't going to Bishop Arts District. According to Emily's GPS history, they'd be at the Marriott on Central Expressway in about an hour. I made a decision that would change everything. "Danny," I said, "what would you do if you found out Melissa was cheating on you?" He nearly choked on his brisket. "What? Dude, where did that come from?" "Hypothetically, what would you do?" He thought about it, wiping barbecue sauce from his chin. "Honestly, I'd probably end the guy she was cheating with. Then I'd divorce her and take everything." "What if there wasn't a guy?" "What do you mean?" "What if she was cheating with another woman?" Danny laughed. "Melissa, dude, she's about as straight as they come. Trust me, I'd know." Would he, though? I thought I'd know, too. "But hypothetically," I pressed, "hypothetically, I guess it wouldn't matter. Cheating is cheating, right? Gender doesn't change the betrayal." Smart man, my brother. Too bad he was about to learn just how right he was. I followed them. I know how that sounds. Stalking your cheating wife makes you look pathetic and desperate. But I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to move from suspicion to certainty, because what I was planning to do next required absolute conviction. They met at the Marriott at 1:30 p.m., just like Emily's GPS history had predicted. I watched from my car as they walked through the lobby together, Emily's hand briefly touching Melissa's back in a gesture that was definitely not sisterly. They had a room on the 3rd floor. I know because I followed them up in the elevator, staying far enough back to avoid detection, but close enough to see which door they entered. Room 314. I stood in that hallway for 5 minutes, listening to the sound of my marriage ending through a hotel door. I didn't need to hear the details. I'd seen enough. Back in my car, I called Emily. "Hey, honey," she answered, slightly breathless. "What's up?" "Just checking in. How's your lunch going?" "Oh, it's great. Melissa and I are having such a good time. This place in Bishop Arts is amazing." Lie. Complete, bold-faced lie. "That's wonderful. I'm glad you two are bonding." "We really are. She's become such a good friend." Friend. Jesus. "Well, don't let me interrupt. Love you." "Love you too." She hung up, and I sat in that hotel parking lot wondering how many times she'd said those words while actively betraying me. How many I love yous were just cover for, "I'm screwing your sister-in-law and planning to leave you." I drove home and called my lawyer. Marcus Webb had handled our house purchase and our wills. He was discreet, professional, and expensive. Today I needed all three qualities. Kyle, he said when his secretary put me through. What can I do for you? I need to discuss divorce proceedings, hypothetically. I see. Are we talking about an amicable separation or something more contentious? Contentious, very contentious. Adultery? Among other things. I can see you this afternoon if you'd like, 3 o'clock. I'll be there. Marcus's office was in one of those glass towers downtown, the kind Danny had probably built. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Trinity River, and the furniture cost more than most people's cars. This was going to be expensive. But Emily had already spent our money on her affair. What was a little more? Tell me everything, Marcus said, pouring coffee from a machine that probably cost more than my monthly salary. I told him everything. The text message, the secret credit card, the hotel meetings, the apartment hunting in Tulsa. I showed him the evidence I'd compiled, the bank records, the GPS data, the printed emails. Marcus reviewed everything with the methodical precision of a surgeon. When he finished, he leaned back in his leather chair and smiled. Kyle, this is what we call a slam dunk. Adultery, financial misconduct, planned abandonment of minor children. She won't get 50% of anything. What will she get? If we play this right, nothing. Maybe supervised visitation with the girls, depending on what the judge thinks about her stability. And custody? Full custody to you, almost certainly. No judge is going to award primary custody to a woman who's been stealing from her children's college fund to pay for hotel rooms. For the first time in 24 hours, I smiled. What's our next step? We file immediately, before she has a chance to hide more assets or establish residency in Oklahoma. I'll have papers drawn up by tomorrow morning. That fast? Kyle, she's been planning this for 8 months. She's had time to prepare. Now it's your turn. I left Marcus's office feeling something I hadn't felt since reading Melissa's text message. Hope. Not hope for reconciliation, but hope for justice. Hope that my daughters wouldn't be dragged to Oklahoma by 2 women who'd been lying to everyone they claimed to love. Emily was home when I got there, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. She'd changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a sweater, looking like the perfect suburban mom. How was your day? She asked, stirring something that smelled like heaven. Interesting. How was lunch with Melissa? Really nice. We should do couples dinner soon, the 4 of us. I think you and Melissa would really get along if you spent more time together. The audacity was breathtaking. She was suggesting I spend more time with the woman she was cheating with, while planning to divorce me and move to another state. I'm sure we would, I said. Sophie and Jenna came running into the kitchen, full of stories about their day at school. Normal kid stuff, friend drama, test scores, plans for the weekend. They had no idea their world was about to change forever. We ate dinner as a family, just like we had thousands of times before. Emily asked about my day, I asked about hers. The girls chattered about everything and nothing. If you'd looked through our dining room window, you'd have seen the picture of domestic happiness. But I kept thinking about room 314 at the Marriott, about Emily's breathless voice when she answered my call, about the apartment listings in Tulsa and the $20,000 missing from our daughter's college fund. After dinner, Emily went upstairs to help the girls with homework. I cleaned the kitchen and loaded the dishwasher. Normal husband duties. But I was planning. Tomorrow, she'd be served with divorce papers. Tomorrow, the perfect life she'd been planning with Melissa would start crumbling. Tomorrow, she'd learn that betraying your family has consequences. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Emily was served with divorce papers at her real estate office at 10:47 a.m. on Thursday morning. I know the exact time because Marcus texted me when the process server confirmed delivery. She called me 37 minutes later, screaming, "What the heck is this, Kyle? What the heck is this?" I was in my office at Dataflow Solutions, surrounded by servers and network cables and the comfortable hum of technology that actually worked the way it was supposed to, unlike marriages, apparently. "It's a divorce petition," I said calmly. I thought that was fairly obvious. "You can't be serious. We can work this out. We can go to counseling." "Can we? Because according to my information, you've been planning to move to Tulsa with Melissa for the past 3 months. Hard to work things out when one party is planning to flee the state." Silence. Long, telling silence. "I don't know what you think you know," she said finally. "I know about the Marriott. I know about the secret credit card. I know about the $20,000 you stole from our daughter's college fund. I know about the apartment you've been looking at near Melissa's family in Oklahoma." More silence. Kyle, let me explain. No need. You've explained everything perfectly clearly. You're in love with my brother's wife, you've been stealing money to fund your affair, and you're planning to abandon your family. What else is there to explain? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Emily started crying then, big dramatic sobs that might have worked on me yesterday. Today, they just sounded like manipulation. Please, she said, don't do this to our family. I'm not doing anything to our family. You did this. You chose this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk on the way home. This is systematic betrayal over 8 months. This is theft. This is planning to kidnap my children. I would never kidnap them. Moving them to another state without their father's consent is kidnapping, Emily. Ask my lawyer. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Danny called. Dude, what the heck is going on? Melissa just came home crying, saying you're divorcing Emily. I am divorcing Emily. Why? What happened? This was the conversation I'd been dreading. Danny was about to learn that his wife had been cheating on him with his brother's wife. His whole world was about to implode, and I was the one holding the dynamite. Danny, you need to sit down. I'm sitting. Talk to me. Emily's been having an affair. What? With who? Here it was, the moment of truth. With Melissa. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. That's not funny, Kyle. I'm not joking. You're telling me Emily is cheating on you with my wife? I'm telling you, Emily and Melissa have been having an affair for 8 months. Hotel rooms, weekend trips, the whole thing. They're planning to leave us and move to Oklahoma together. That's impossible. Danny, I have evidence. Bank records, emails, GPS data. I followed them to a hotel yesterday. Another long silence. You followed them? Room 314 at the Marriott on Central Expressway. They were there from 1:30 to 3:15. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, brother. I'm so sorry. Show me, he said. Show me the evidence. Come over tonight after the girls go to bed. I'll show you everything. Danny arrived at 9 o'clock, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 8 hours. I'd printed everything out, organized it chronologically, laid it out on my dining room table like a case presentation. He went through it all methodically. The bank records showing hotel payments, the emails about apartment hunting, the GPS data showing Emily's phone at locations she'd lied about, the credit card statements for restaurants and weekend trips. When he finished, he just sat there staring at the papers. 8 months, he said finally. 8 months. All those times Melissa was having lunch with Emily, or going shopping with Emily, or having girls' nights with Emily. Yeah, and I encouraged it. I was happy she was making friends. You couldn't have known. Danny laughed, but there was no humor in it. Couldn't I? Looking back, there were signs. She's been different, happier, more, I don't know, energetic. I thought it was because she was finally settling in here. She was settling in, just not the way you thought. What are you going to do? I'm going to take them for everything they're worth. Full custody, no alimony, minimal visitation. My lawyer says it's a slam dunk. And what am I going to do? That's up to you. But if you want my advice, you'll call Marcus Webb tomorrow morning. Danny nodded slowly. This is going to destroy our families. No, I said, they destroyed our families. We're just dealing with the aftermath. Emily came home at 10:30 after Danny had left. She found me in the living room, reading a book like nothing had happened. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Kyle, please. Let me explain. I looked up from my book. Explain what? Explain how you fell in love with another woman? I don't care. Explain how you've been lying to me for 8 months. I already know. Explain how you stole $20,000 from our daughter's future. The bank records speak for themselves. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You and Melissa were going to fake your deaths and start new lives in witness protection? We were going to tell you, both of you, when the time was right. When was that going to be? After you'd moved to Oklahoma? After you'd enrolled my daughters in new schools without telling me? Emily sat down across from me, and for the first time since this whole thing started, she looked genuinely remorseful. I know how this looks, she said. It looks like betrayal. It looks like theft. It looks like two women who were willing to destroy two families because they were too selfish to consider the consequences. I love her, Kyle. I don't care. You don't understand. I've never felt this way before. I said I don't care. What about the girls? What about them? They need their mother. They need a mother who doesn't lie, steal, and cheat. Unfortunately, that's not you. Emily started crying again, but these tears seemed real, not manipulative, just sad. I never wanted to hurt you, she said. But you did hurt me. You hurt me, you hurt Danny, you hurt our daughters, and you hurt yourself. Congratulations. Can we try counseling? Can we try to work this out? Emily, you've been planning to leave me for 3 months. You've stolen money from our children. You've been having an affair with my brother's wife. What exactly do you think counseling is going to fix? She didn't have an answer for that. I'll fight this, she said finally. I'll fight for my daughters. Good luck with that. Judges tend to frown on parents who steal from their children's college funds to pay for hotel rooms. Emily went upstairs without another word. I heard her on the phone, probably calling Melissa, probably planning their next move. It didn't matter, they were 8 months too late to get ahead of this. I finished my book and went to bed. For the first time in days, I slept well. The next morning, Emily was gone. She'd packed a bag and left before I woke up, leaving only a note saying she was staying with a friend and would be in touch through lawyers. The friend was obviously Melissa, which meant Danny was probably waking up to an empty house too. I made breakfast for Sophie and Jenna, trying to act normal while figuring out how to explain that Mommy wouldn't be living with us anymore. 10 and 8 years old. Too young to understand adult complications, but old enough to know when their world was changing. Where's Mom? Sophie asked, looking around the kitchen like Emily might be hiding behind the refrigerator. She had to go away for a few days, I said. Work stuff. But her car's not here, Jenna pointed out. My younger daughter was observant, a trait she'd inherited from me. She took a taxi to the airport. It was a lie, but a necessary one. I wasn't ready to explain lesbian affairs and divorce proceedings over cereal and orange juice. My phone rang while I was driving the girls to school. Danny. She's gone, he said without preamble. Emily too. They're together? Probably. Emily left a note saying she was staying with a friend. Jesus, this is really happening. Yeah, it's really happening. I called that lawyer you recommended, Marcus Webb. He can see me this afternoon. Good. Don't wait, Danny. The longer you give them to plan, the worse it gets. I keep thinking I should have seen this coming. How could you have seen it? Your wife falling in love with your brother's wife isn't exactly a common scenario. Still, after I dropped the girls at school, I went to work and tried to pretend everything was normal. Server migrations, network updates, user complaints about password resets. Normal IT stuff that used to seem important. But every few minutes, my phone would buzz with updates from Marcus. Emily had hired a lawyer, a good one apparently. This was going to be expensive and ugly. Around lunchtime, I got a call from Sophie's school. Mr. Masters? This is Principal Henderson at St. Mark AS. We need you to come in as soon as possible. Is Sophie okay? She's fine physically, but there's been an incident. I drove to the school wondering what kind of incident required parental intervention. Sophie was a good kid, honor roll student, never caused trouble. But kids react unpredictably to stress, and our house had been full of stress lately. I found Sophie in the principal's office, tear-streaked and defiant. Principal Henderson, a kind woman in her 50s, looked concerned. Sophie got into a fight with another student, she explained. Apparently, there was some discussion about families, and Sophie became very upset. What kind of discussion? Sophie looked up at me with eyes that were too old for her 10-year-old face. Madison said her mom told her that you and Mom are getting divorced because Mom likes girls now. My heart sank. News travels fast in suburban Dallas, especially when it's scandalous. Emily and Melissa's affair was probably the hottest gossip at every coffee shop and book club in Plano. What did you say to Madison? I asked. I said she was a liar and her mom was stupid. Under different circumstances, I might have been proud of Sophie's loyalty. Today, I just felt tired. Sophie, honey, we don't call people stupid, even when they say things that hurt our feelings. But she was lying, right, Dad? Mom doesn't like girls. She likes you. Principal Henderson was watching this conversation with the careful attention of someone who'd seen family drama before. I chose my words carefully. Your mom and I are having some grown-up problems right now. But that doesn't change how much we both love you and Jenna. Are you getting divorced? There it was, the question I'd been dreading. We might be, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups can't work out their problems, and they decide it's better to live in different houses. Sophie started crying again, and I pulled her into my lap. She was getting too big for this, but she was still my little girl. I want Mom to come home, she said. I know you do, and you'll see her soon, I promise. It was a promise I hoped I could keep. Emily might be a cheating liar, but she was still their mother. Principal Henderson suggested we consider family counseling to help the girls adjust. She gave me some referrals and assured me that Sophie wouldn't be in trouble for the fight, given the circumstances. I picked up Jenna early and took both girls for ice cream. We sat in Dairy Queen, eating sundaes and talking about everything except the fact that their mother had abandoned them to run off with their aunt. Dad? Jenna said, chocolate sauce on her chin. Are you sad? A little bit, sweetheart, but I'm not sad about you and Sophie. You two make me happy every day. Will we still live in our house? Yes, our house isn't going anywhere. Will Murphy still be our dog? Murphy will always be our dog. Small reassurances, but they seem to help. Kids are resilient, but they need stability. They need to know that some things won't change, even when everything else does. That evening, after the girls were in bed, Danny came over with a bottle of whiskey and a 1,000-yard stare. Melissa cleaned out our savings account, he said, pouring 2 glasses. $38,000 gone. When? This morning, before she left. Jesus. Gets better. She also maxed out our credit cards, cash advances, another $15,000. We drank in silence for a while. 2 brothers whose wives had decided to destroy their lives together. Marcus says I can file criminal charges, Danny said. Theft, fraud, whatever. But it would take years to get the money back, and I'd have to prove she took it without permission. Joint account? Joint account. Turns out, when you're married, your spouse can legally steal everything you own. Not everything. The house is protected, retirement accounts, some assets can't be touched. Some, not all. We finished the bottle and made plans. Danny would file for divorce tomorrow. We'd coordinate our legal strategies, present a united front. 2 brothers against 2 women who'd decided to burn everything down. You know what the worst part is? Danny said as he was leaving. What? I still love her. After everything she's done, I still love her. I know, me too. How pathetic is that? It's not pathetic. It's human. After Danny left, I sat in my living room, surrounded by the remnants of my marriage. Family photos on the mantel, Emily's books on the shelf, her coffee mug still in the sink from yesterday morning. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of erasing her from our lives. But tonight, I just sat there, missing the woman I thought she was. Emily and Melissa hired the most expensive divorce attorney in Dallas, Catherine Morrison, known for her scorched earth tactics and her ability to turn cheating spouses into sympathetic victims. If you wanted to destroy your ex-husband's life while keeping his money, Catherine Morrison was your woman. Marcus called me on Monday morning with the bad news. They're claiming emotional abandonment, he said. Both of them. The argument is that you and Danny were neglectful husbands who drove them into each other's arms. That's ridiculous. Of course it's ridiculous, but it's also smart. Morrison is trying to flip the narrative. Instead of 2 cheating wives, she wants to paint them as 2 lonely women who found comfort together because their husbands were emotionally unavailable. What about the money Emily stole? They're calling it financial independence. Apparently, you were controlling the family finances, and Emily had to open her own credit card to have any autonomy. I was controlling the finances? She had access to every account we owned? Kyle, I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it's their strategy. Morrison is very good at what she does. So what's our counter strategy? Evidence, facts, documentation. We bury them in proof of systematic deception and financial misconduct, but it's going to get ugly. Ugly was an understatement. Over the next 2 weeks, Emily's lawyer filed motion after motion. Temporary custody of the girls. Temporary support payments, exclusive use of the family home. She wanted me to move out of my own house and pay her bills while she lived with her lesbian lover. The audacity was breathtaking. But Marcus was earning his fee. He counterfiled for everything. Full custody, no alimony, return of stolen funds, exclusive use of all marital assets. He painted Emily as an unstable woman who'd abandoned her children to pursue an affair with her sister-in-law. The local newspapers picked up the story. Suburban love triangle ends in dual divorce proceedings. Emily and Melissa's affair became public knowledge, complete with photos and speculation about their secret relationship. Sophie came home from school crying again. Everyone's talking about it, she said. Madison's mom showed her the newspaper article. There's a picture of you and Mom. I looked at the article online. Sure enough, there was our family Christmas photo from last year, all 4 of us smiling at the camera. The caption read, Kyle and Emily Masters, whose marriage ended when Emily began a relationship with her sister-in-law. Dad, what does lesbian affair mean? Jenna asked, 10 years old, and she was learning vocabulary no child should need to know. It means Mom fell in love with someone who isn't Daddy, I said carefully. With Aunt Melissa? Yes, but Aunt Melissa is married to Uncle Danny. I know, sweetheart, it's very complicated. Complicated. The understatement of the century. Emily finally called me directly on a Thursday evening, 2 weeks after she'd left. I want to see my daughters, she said. Then come see them. Not with you there. I want to take them out, spend time with them alone. That's not happening. Kyle, they're my children too. Are they? Because abandoning them to run off with your lover doesn't seem very maternal. I didn't abandon them. I needed space to figure things out. You needed space to clean out bank accounts with your girlfriend. Don't call her that. What should I call her? Your partner in crime? Your co-conspirator? She's the woman I love. She's a married woman who helped you steal money from our children. Emily was quiet for a moment. I want supervised visitation. My lawyer says I'm entitled to it. Your lawyer can file whatever motion she wants, but until a judge orders otherwise, you don't get to take my daughters anywhere. They miss me, Kyle. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to blow up their lives. She hung up on me again. The next morning, I got a call from Sophie's school. Emily had tried to pick up both girls during lunch, claiming there was a family emergency. The school had called me to verify, and when they couldn't reach me immediately, they'd refused to release the children. Emily had caused a scene. Yelling, crying, demanding to see her daughters. Security had been called. I left work immediately and drove to St. Mark ES, where I found both girls in the principal's office, confused and scared. Mom was acting weird, Sophie said. She kept saying she needed to take us somewhere safe. Safe from what? I asked. She wouldn't say, but she was crying a lot. Principal Henderson pulled me aside. Mr. Masters, we're going to need some kind of court order clarifying custody arrangements. We can't have these kinds of disruptions. I understand. I'll get you something by tomorrow. Marcus filed an emergency motion that afternoon, requesting a restraining order preventing Emily from contacting the children except through supervised visitation. The hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. Emily's response was to show up at our house at midnight, drunk and demanding to see her daughters. I called the police. 2 officers arrived within 10 minutes, finding Emily sitting on our front porch, crying and clutching a bottle of wine. She wasn't violent or threatening, just pathetic. Sir, this is a domestic situation, one of the officers said. Without a restraining order, we can't make her leave. It's still her legal residence. She moved out 2 weeks ago, but her name is still on the deed. Technically, she has a right to be here. What about the fact that she's drunk and trying to wake up my children? We can ask her to leave voluntarily, but we can't force her unless she becomes disorderly. Emily agreed to leave, but not before making a scene loud enough to wake the neighbors. She stood in our driveway shouting about how I'd poisoned our daughters against her and how I was destroying our family. The neighbors watched from their windows, getting a free show courtesy of my wife's mental breakdown. Sophie and Jenna slept through most of it, thank God. But I lay awake all night, wondering what Emily might do next. Monday's hearing was a disaster for Emily's side. Judge Patricia Williams, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, listened to the evidence with growing disapproval. Emily's midnight visit, her attempt to remove the children from school, her financial misconduct, it all painted a picture of instability. Mrs. Masters, Judge Williams said, your behavior over the past 2 weeks suggests that you are not currently capable of making decisions in your children's best interests. Emily started crying. Your Honor, I just want to see my daughters. And you will see them, under supervised conditions, for 2 hours every Saturday afternoon at the family court building. A social worker will be present at all times. 2 hours? They're my children. Mrs. Masters, you abandoned these children to pursue an extramarital affair. You attempted to remove them from school without authorization. You showed up at the family home intoxicated in the middle of the night. 2 hours of supervised visitation is generous under the circumstances. Emily's lawyer tried to object, but Judge Williams was done. Furthermore, Mrs. Masters is enjoined from contacting the minor children except during scheduled visitation. Any violation of this order will result in contempt charges. Emily collapsed into her chair, sobbing. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Outside the courthouse, Catherine Morrison cornered me. "This isn't over," she said. "My client is going through a difficult transition, but she's still those children's mother. Your client is a woman who stole money from her children to pay for hotel rooms with her lover," I replied. "Good luck spinning that." "We'll see." But I could see the doubt in Morrison's eyes. She was used to winning, but this case was unwinnable. Emily had made too many mistakes, left too much evidence, burned too many bridges. The war was just beginning, but I'd won the first major battle. 3 months into the divorce proceedings, Emily played her last card. She claimed I was being inappropriate with our daughters. The accusation came out of nowhere, filed as an emergency motion on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, Child Protective Services was at my door with a court order to interview Sophie and Jenna. I called Marcus immediately. "This is Morrison's nuclear option," he said. "When you can't win on the facts, you throw out misuse allegations and hope something sticks. But it's completely false. There's no evidence because nothing happened." Evidence doesn't matter in the initial stages. CPS has to investigate every allegation, no matter how ridiculous. Emily knows this will tie up the case for months and make you look suspicious. What about the girls? What does this do to them? They'll be interviewed by trained professionals. It'll be traumatic, but they'll get through it. The CPS investigator was a tired-looking woman named Janet Rodriguez, who'd probably seen every kind of family dysfunction imaginable. She interviewed the girls separately, asking careful questions about their home life, their relationship with me, whether anyone had ever touched them inappropriately. Both girls were confused and scared. They didn't understand why a stranger was asking them these questions, why Mommy wasn't living with us anymore, why everything in their lives had suddenly become complicated and frightening. "Daddy never hurt us," Sophie told the investigator, according to the report I received later. "He takes care of us. He makes us breakfast and helps with homework and reads us stories." Jenna was more direct. "Daddy's the best daddy in the world. Why would someone say he hurt us?" The investigation took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of supervised visits with my own daughters, 6 weeks of having my parenting scrutinized by social workers, 6 weeks of knowing that everyone in our neighborhood was whispering about whether I was a child molester. Emily's strategy backfired spectacularly. The CPS report not only cleared me of any wrongdoing, it painted a picture of a devoted father who'd stepped up admirably when his wife abandoned the family. The social worker noted that both children were well-adjusted, happy, and clearly loved their father. More damaging to Emily's case, the investigation revealed that she'd had minimal contact with the girls since leaving. 2 hours of supervised visitation every Saturday, and she'd missed 3 of those sessions. 1 because she was sick, hungover according to Melissa's social media posts, and 2 because she was out of town with Melissa. Judge Williams was not amused when we returned to court. "Mrs. Masters, filing false allegations of child misuse is a serious matter. Not only have you wasted the court's time and traumatized your own children, you've demonstrated a willingness to use them as tools in your divorce proceedings." Emily's lawyer tried to backtrack. "Your Honor, my client had genuine concerns about her children's welfare. Based on what evidence? Your client has had minimal contact with these children since abandoning them 3 months ago. She's missed scheduled visitations to go on vacation with her paramour. What concerns could she possibly have about their welfare? Sometimes children don't disclose misuse immediately." "Enough." Judge Williams's voice could have frozen heck. "Mrs. Masters, your credibility with this court is now 0. Any future motions from your counsel will be viewed with extreme skepticism." The false misuse allegations marked the beginning of the end for Emily's case. Her own family started turning against her. Emily's mother, Patricia, called me on a Thursday evening. "Kyle, I owe you an apology," she said. "I've been trying to support Emily through this, but accusing you of hurting those babies, that's unforgivable." "I appreciate that, Patricia. Those girls adore you. Anyone with eyes can see that. For Emily to claim otherwise..." She trailed off, crying. "She's not thinking clearly right now. She's thinking clearly enough to go on vacation while her children are being interviewed by social workers. I raised her better than this." Patricia became my strongest ally. She testified at the final hearing about Emily's behavior, her abandonment of the children, her obvious prioritization of her relationship with Melissa over her responsibilities as a mother. "My daughter has lost her way," Patricia told the judge. "These children belong with their father." Danny's divorce was proceeding along similar lines. Melissa had made the same mistakes Emily had. abandoned her stepchildren. Danny had 2 kids from his first marriage, cleaned out bank accounts, filed false allegations when she started losing. The 2 women had coordinated their legal strategies, which meant they'd made the same tactical errors. Morrison was a good lawyer, but she couldn't overcome clients who insisted on self-destructing. 6 months after Emily served me with divorce papers, we reached the final hearing. Judge Williams had seen enough evidence to fill a small library: bank records, hotel receipts, GPS data, social media posts, testimony from family members, teachers, neighbors. Emily looked terrible. She'd lost weight, her hair was unkempt, and she had the hollow-eyed look of someone who'd been drinking too much and sleeping too little. Melissa sat behind her in the gallery, looking equally rough. Their grand romance wasn't aging well under the pressure of reality. Marcus presented our case methodically: the affair, the financial misconduct, the abandonment of the children, the false misuse allegations. By the time he finished, Emily looked like the worst mother in Texas. Morrison's closing argument was desperate. She painted Emily as a woman struggling with her orientation, confused and making poor choices, but fundamentally a loving mother who deserved a second chance. Judge Williams wasn't buying it. Mrs. Masters, you made a series of choices that prioritized your personal desires over your children's welfare. You conducted an 8-month affair while lying to your husband and family. You stole money from your children's college fund to finance this affair. You abandoned your children when your relationship was discovered. You attempted to remove them from school without authorization. You filed false allegations of misconduct when your case began failing. These are not the actions of a confused woman making poor choices. These are the actions of a selfish person who views her children as possessions rather than human beings with their own needs and rights. The judge awarded me full custody, with Emily getting supervised visitation every other Saturday. No overnight visits, no holidays, no decision-making authority regarding school, medical care, or activities. Emily was ordered to pay child support, a token amount since she had no significant income. She was also ordered to reimburse the children's college fund, though Marcus warned me we'd probably never see that money. Most satisfying of all, Emily got no alimony, not a penny. Judge Williams ruled that her adultery and financial misconduct disqualified her from spousal support. The respondent chose to end this marriage through her own actions, the judge said. She cannot now claim to be a victim entitled to financial support from the husband she betrayed. Emily broke down completely, sobbing so hard that bailiffs had to help her from the courtroom. Melissa followed, shooting me a look of pure hatred. I felt nothing but relief. Outside the courthouse, Marcus shook my hand. "That's about as complete a victory as you can get in family court," he said. "Full custody, no alimony, minimal visitation. She got destroyed. What happens now? Now you go home to your daughters and rebuild your life. Emily will probably appeal, but she has no grounds. This case is over." Danny met me for drinks that evening. His divorce had concluded the same day with similar results. Melissa got nothing but supervised visitation with his kids and an order to pay restitution for the money she'd stolen. "2 years ago, we were happily married men," Danny said, raising his beer. "Today, we're single fathers with full custody and ex-wives who hate us. Funny how life works out. You think they're happy? Emily and Melissa? Was all this worth it for them?" I thought about Emily's appearance in court, her hollow eyes and desperate sobbing. I don't think they're happy at all. Good. We drank to that. When I got home, Sophie and Jenna were asleep. I checked on them like I did every night, making sure they were safe and warm and loved. They'd been through heck because of their mother's choices, but they were resilient. They'd be okay. I went to my bedroom now, not our bedroom, and looked around at the space I'd shared with Emily for 8 years. I'd already removed most traces of her clothes, her books, her photos. The room looked different now, smaller maybe, but also cleaner somehow. Tomorrow I'd start the process of selling the house. Too many memories, too much history. Sophie and Jenna deserved a fresh start, somewhere that didn't echo with the ghosts of their mother's betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text message. For a moment, I thought it might be Emily, but it was from Patricia, Emily's mother. "Kyle, I'm so proud of how you handled this. Those girls are lucky to have you. Emily made her choice, and now she has to live with the consequences. You're a good man and a wonderful father. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." I set the phone aside and got ready for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Single parenthood, rebuilding our lives, helping the girls adjust to their new reality. But tonight, for the first time in months, I felt at peace. Emily had gambled everything on her affair with Melissa. She'd bet our marriage, our family, our children's security, and our financial future on the chance that her lesbian romance would be worth the destruction. She'd lost everything. And I'd won the only thing that mattered, my daughters.